Hello and welcome. It's Brett Taylor here, and I have Chris Killmer with me today. Chris recently won the Canadian Tour Players' Cup in a playoff with Vince Covello out in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Chris is from Bellingham, Washington, and is playing in his second season on the Canadian Tour. As I have with each of the Canadian Tour champions, I'll be talking to Chris today about the mental strategies that have contributed to his success in his recent victory. Thanks for joining me, Chris.
Hey, glad I could help out.
Awesome. So just to get a kind of an overview, how important is golf psychology to your success, and how did it play a role for you in your recent win?
It's a huge part of, I believe, anyone's success out here. Not only is it tough being out on the road so many weeks in a row, the pressures of having that, not playing well and you won't make money. There's a lot of pressures out there, and when you can keep your mind in check is when I feel you'll get the best results from any event you play in.
Cool. And now, just with respect to goals, we talked a little earlier about process goals. Can you elaborate a little bit on, what goals mean to you and maybe how you deal with goals?
Yeah, I think the way I deal with goals is definitely different than, say, other people who will write down specific things that they can accomplish to check off goals that they have written on their list. Whereas, I like to set a big goal, and the ultimate goal of most golfers of making it to the PGA Tour and expanding upon that as being, successful out there. I've known guys get out on the PGA Tour only to quickly, fall off the next year and not play very well. So my overlying goal would be to be a successful PGA Tour player. But the goals that I deal with week in and week out, day in and day out, are more process goals that I have got. And for instance, I'll just mention a couple of the ones. I maybe have a list of 10, and I read these before I play, and it really helps me out. So a couple of them would be, I will trust myself and my swing on every shot. I will stay in the present moment, and that will be the only shot I care about. When the round is over, I will see how I did. I will trust my instincts. I will play to play great. And the last thing I said there, I will play to play great, is the one goal and the one thing that I focus on the most, especially this last week. I constantly remind myself that don't just play to not make a bogey, don't play to make birdies, and just play to play great. And the phrase I would say to myself in pressure situations this last week were the little phrase, dare to be great, meaning don't get in your own way and think about consequences of not pulling off the shot or pulling off the shot. But my little phrase was dare to be great, and just really concentrate on doing that rather than trying not to be bad.
Wow, that's a nice tidy little list you have there. I have to ask, where did you come up with all of those little, affirmations, if I can call them that?
Yeah, I wish I would have came up with them, because if I did, I'd be making more money as a psychologist than as a golfer right now. But as we talked earlier, I listened to a book. I listen to it more than I read it. It's a lot easier, especially being on the road so much, but I have read it as well. But it's The Golfer's Mind by Dr. Bob Rotella, and that's where I first got this idea of process goals. He talked about in the book how David Toms never really thought that he never really liked goals, like I was talking about. And so they came up with this list of process goals, and there must be 10 or 12 of them, but I slowed down the tape and looked at my book and wrote them all down for myself. And just in reading those before I go out, it just provides me with a lot more mental stability, where I'm thinking less about my golf game and more about the one shot in front of me. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed when they think about a round and they think about 18 different tee shots, and there's so many possibilities that you're never going to be fully able to predict on where process with these process goals and only worry about the mental side, because you can truly only control the mental side. I think it's something that's helped me tremendous in the last 2 years.
Wow, that's great insight there for sure. It kind of leads me into, a couple of things, I guess. I mean, it sounds like you're really focused, when you say you're focused mainly on process goals and being in the present, it's sort of, I guess, the actions you're doing in the moment that really are most contributing to your success. So do you have goals that are outside of that immediate present tense and like long-term goals? I mean, you had mentioned the PGA Tour as well. Do you spend much time focused on your dreams and that ultimate goal of being a successful PGA Tour player?
No, not really. I do have it written down because despite the process goals I have, I've still always believed if you don't write it down, it's just a dream. So is it a dream? Yeah, but it's also written down. It's something that I strive for, but I have full confidence in my ability that if I worry about the present moment, I think if I said, man, how am I going to get to the PGA Tour next year? And I started thinking about everything I have to do right this minute, like finish well at first stage, then I got to get the second stage, get a good practice round in. Your mind starts going too fast. But if I worry about the current present time, I think it alleviates a lot of the what am I searching for here? The pressure to say, think about everything that needs to be done, and you just go to the course every day, just trying to get better that day. And in the end, you'll get there. And you know what? If you don't get there, you can reevaluate later, but I think it's too much for my mind to process to say only think about this long-term goal rather than these process goals, breaking it down day by day. You take care of you on that day, and everything else will take care of itself. Yeah,
okay. So I guess just to take those affirmations one step further, where do you sort of plug those in? Or because I know, I'm going to start asking some questions about, your routine and your thought process on shots and that sort of thing. And so where do you talk to yourself? Where do you use these affirmations? Is it off the course? Is it during your round? Is it in the middle of your pre-shot routine? How does that fit in there?
I think most of them for me are at night. I do frequently, even though I've maybe listened to the book, hundreds of times, I'll listen to bits and pieces of it. Like I know, for instance, going into the final round, I fast-forwarded to a part in there where it talks about, nerves and butterflies, and he goes, butterflies are great because you don't get butterflies being in 63rd place. You go out there, you try to play good, you try to get us to the next event as soon as possible. So, I look at my book, I go there, and I say, hey, this is a really cool thing. I kind of step back from the moment and kind of take a sideline look at where I was and really realize that butterflies are a thing to welcome myself because it gives you the opportunity to do something that you've never done. But when I'm on the course, some of them creep in. I definitely know I have at the top of my list two things that I really concentrate out there, and it's I will trust myself in my swing on every shot, and I will execute my pre-shot routine on every shot. And they might not both come in there at one time, but I know when I like to take a practice swing behind the ball, and I like to pick out a target, and when I pick out that target, I usually, will say something to myself like, trust your swing. And a lot of times last week it was play to play great, and it's not standing back there, picking your line and going, well, if I miss it a little bit right, I'm going to be in the crap. If I miss it a little left, I'm not going to be at the right part of the fairway. I just solely concentrated on my target, told myself to play great, and then executed my shot. And if it didn't turn out well, I dealt with it. But a lot of it is in the preparation before the round that I work on these things.
Okay. No, that's great too. I mean, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned there, with the butterflies and feeling nervous. And, most amateurs, don't like that feeling. But as a pro and a tour player, obviously if you can get into a position where you feel that way, that's exactly where you want to be. And you need to embrace that. And I think the best players like yourself do embrace that feeling of having the butterflies and the nervousness, and it seems to increase that focus and in a way improves the results too. So
I'd say for any amateur, if they could see themselves getting butterflies sleeping on the lead for the first time and say their club championship, just step back and realize, hey, I've played some great golf to get here. That's the only reason I have butterflies. I mean, you don't, like I said, the guy in last place does not have butterflies on Sunday. He doesn't have them.
Right. No, absolutely. And you kind of touched on a few parts of your pre-shot routine. Can you kind of go a little deeper on that as well and, break down maybe the thinking and the mental parts of your routine? I mean, you mentioned your practice swing and some of what you're saying to yourself about, playing to play great, as it seems to be that was the key phrase for you in your recent win. Are there, other parts to your routine that contribute to your success there?
I wouldn't say I think it's the parts of my routine that contribute to success is the routine itself. It's your one constant. Out there, I can never predict how it's going to bounce or whatnot, but the only thing I can ever predict is the fact that I will get up to my ball, I will select the club. I don't even have a set number of practice swings, but I will get behind the ball, take some practice swings as if the ball was right there, step behind the ball, and then really focus on my target. I think the one thing that I stress to people that, other players on tour, I think other players teach a lot of other players, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, it kind of works, this is what I'm doing, it kind of works, but I like to look at the target with, as soft as I can. I don't think you need to pick out a specific leaf on a tree, but it should be a specific target. I just never feel like you should be, straining to see your target, because I feel once you start straining any part of your body, even your eyes, you tense up. So I like to take a very relaxed look, and not a general area, but a relaxed look at a distinguished target. And then I step into the ball. At some point in picking out the target and stepping up to the ball, I might say something like, trust your swing, or, play to play great, you can do this. Any number of those things. It's when you start thinking, once you take your eyes off the target and you start thinking, man, I don't want to miss it right, maybe I should have picked a target farther left. Those are the things that are really going to hurt you, not because your target was a bad selection, but more so that you weren't focused and confident in the target you picked.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're so focused on your target and you're looking down at the ball, ready to pull the trigger, are you seeing the target in your mind's eye, or what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. When I'm over the ball looking down, I take my, I'm all ready to go. I take my look up at the target. When I take myself back down to the ball, yes, 100%. Just thinking about the target alone, whether it's, the corner of the house behind the green, or the weird shaped tree just beyond the green, you're only focused on your target.
Okay. So do you visualize or imagine your shot beforehand and the shape, or is it mostly just focused on the target and allowing your body to take the ball there?
I think it's, for myself, it's more about focusing on the target and letting the ball go there. I think that, like most people, I have a very natural shot shape that's a little draw, so I usually always pick a target right to left and to the right of where I want the ball to end up. But I would say, like, for instance, on 17 at the Players' Cup in my recent win, it's a hole that really kind of needs a cut to play on it. And I do know when I get to those situations where it's not, say, a standard ball flight, I will very much stand behind there and almost see like a tracer out there. I want it to look like. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I know it works more often than not.
Yeah. Okay. So just, reflecting on that final round, what kind of preparation did you do for your final round? You had the lead going into the last day and on Sunday. What kind of preparation did you do the night before or the day before, the morning of?
Well, the morning of was kind of different. I think it was almost a good thing that the tee times got pushed up to the morning instead of teeing off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Looking back, I was kind of disappointed when we walked off the green or when we walked out of the scoring tent on Saturday, just because we would have had to been back there pretty quick. We got done at maybe 6:30 in the evening, so that's usually a pretty quick dinner and a pretty quick return back to the course. But I think it was beneficial in not sitting around all day, letting your mind wander. I mean, even though I talk about these goals, I'm human. I'm not a robot out here. I still have negative thoughts as well, but I have more positive ones than negative ones.
Okay.
And the night before, I did what I usually do. I have a little putting aid that I like to get some reps in at the house or hotel or wherever I'm at, and I just casually hit some putts. I usually have a little goal of 30 in a row before I can go to bed, and I did that. And I read my list of goals the night before, and then specifically the night before the final round, I listened to a portion of my book where it just said, "Hey, you don't get butterflies being in last place. You've played great golf to get to this point, and there's no reason that you can't continue to play great golf." And then I slept pretty well.
Good. Okay. You mentioned there about having a positive attitude as well, and I don't want to state the obvious, but do you work at that? Does that come natural to you, or how do you keep yourself positive?
I think it just draws back to let me think here. How do I stay positive? I know it's something I haven't always been. I know in college at times I had somewhat of a temper. I can tell you I've thrown my fair share of clubs, maybe broken one on an accident, but hey, it was still something that I work towards even today. And I think a lot of it's just in maturing. I'm still young. I just turned 25 this summer, and it's just in maturing and realizing, golf is just golf. At the end of the day, I still go home, and my soon-to-be wife still loves me. My family still loves me. They could care less whether I shoot 90 or 60.
Yeah.
So I think it's the pressure that life goes on. It's a game, and I think it's just basic maturity that has grown me up into a state where it's, given me the ability to stay positive and realize the end of the world will not end if I miss this putt. It just won't.
Yeah, and how important is that team in the background and balance as well in leveling out your game?
Oh, you asking your personal life at home?
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge, and it's something that it's different. On the weekends, in past years, I'd be out practicing every day, playing golf as much as I can. But I've come to realize that golf's what I do. It's not who I am. There's a lot of activities that I enjoy. And yeah, to this date, I still might play every day of the week. But I take, in the last year or 2 years, I take a lot more time off, say on the weekend, to spend time with my fiance. We go up and we do activities together. And I think it's a balancing act. Yes, am I not getting better at golf that day? No, I'm not getting better that day. But I'm securing my home life that relaxes me enough to go out there and play. I think there's no one out there that's a bigger support system than your family or say your wife, girlfriend, or fiance. It's a huge it's a huge piece of being stable that you can call them at night and, they're not saying, when are you coming home? They're saying, hey, good luck tomorrow. I hope you play well. Yes, I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks, but until then, I hope you do great. And they're the biggest part, a huge part in being out on the road for so long.
Yeah. And, keeping in line with the theme of team, do you have a group of people that help you out with maybe on the, swing mechanics part and maybe a fitness coach or a short game coach, nutrition, that sort of thing? Do you have a group of people that you work with and in this mental side as well, that sort of help you to continue that quest to the PGA Tour?
Yeah, I have a great support team. Are they all certified professionals? No, but I think the best support team that I've had since day one has been my family. My dad and mom have supported me financially and taking me to tons of junior tournaments. My brother was a great player in college and always pushed me to be better. I think it's always the big brother, little brother mentality. I always tried to beat him no matter, even though I'm 8 years younger than him, I always tried to beat him. I think that anybody would say that.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I have two brothers too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I always, every time I go to see him, my grandfather is the one that really kind of got me into golf. He's a huge golfer and got my brother into it. And then, of course, I wanted to go with them. So I guess initially I got to thank that part of my team. They're great. My fiance does a great job at watching what I eat. I don't think I've had fast food in over 2 years. I definitely eat a lot more salads than I probably would. And then golf specifically, I worked with a great guy in Bellingham, Washington for a lot of years named Ron Rowe. He's a psychologist who's really helped me out over the years. And my swing coach, Craig Welty in Skagit, just south of Bellingham. He works with Ben Crane out on tour, and he's a great coach. He's helped me so much in realizing the talent I do have. I've never walked away from him feeling worse. I may be hitting it worse, trying something new, but I've never walked away, frustrated. I've always walked away positive. He's just a great tool to have, and I really appreciate the work he's done over the last couple of years to get me into a situation where not only am I playing well, but to crack through and get my first win. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned your brother. I know when you were at the University of Washington, you roomed with Nick Taylor, who was number one in the world as an amateur. Has he had an influence on your game as well?
Yeah, I've looked up to Nick a lot. And not just him, it's a lot of players. I will know that it was an extremely cool feeling to win last week. But after I won and I walked back to my bag to get ready for the award ceremony, I was surrounded by a group of my friends, Nick Taylor, Joel Damon, Tyler Mancini, Matt Nakinson, and Kevin Stinson. They were not only other players who had a long day out there, but they were my friends that stayed around and helped me. I felt proud that my friends were there to congratulate me. But I've definitely always looked up to Nick in a great respect. He's a great player. I was extremely happy that he got an exemption into the RBC Canadian Open today. I can't wait to watch. Another player that served great for me is Richard Lee. He was the University of Washington grad the same year as me. He's out on the PGA Tour this year. He's having a good year. Can't wait to watch him continue to play well. And
go
ahead.
I was just going to say, anything specific that you can think of that maybe you've taken from those players and those friends and peers that on the mental side of the game, that anything that stands out that they've helped you with specifically, apart from the friendship and on tour and whatnot?
Yeah, I think I think you can ask anyone on tour or anyone who knows Nick Taylor on a personal level. Off the golf course, he's the most fun guy to hang around of anybody. He's a lot of fun. He doesn't talk about golf that much. You might watch a little golf channel, but it's usually just a completely fun time hanging out with him. You'd almost never know he played golf hanging out with him. And I realized if this guy's world number one, and you're thinking, man, this guy eats, drinks, and sleeps golf, but the guy is so focused on the course, but off the course, he's relaxed. He's having a good time. He knows that, he needs that balance as well. Even seeing guys like Richard Lee, he's a guy who has a wife and a daughter, and I realized in watching him that, it's not really so much about how many hours you practice, but, securing yourself on the home front, like I'm sure if his marriage was struggling and he wasn't spending any time, he wouldn't play as well. And I drew that from him. I think another great competitor who I haven't mentioned yet is Darren Wallace, another teammate of mine at UW. The kid, I shouldn't even call him a kid, but he's a great player. He's got an intensity that is just extremely, extremely intense. It's almost not fun to play a putting game with him because he takes it so seriously that he's going to win, and then you're out your $5. But he's a guy who really focuses a lot and a great motivator, pushes you to be better. And then another friend of mine who I only played with 1 year at UW was Alex Prue, who's out on the Nationwide this year. He was really kind of a mentor to me in school and really saw how things in golf should be played as far as, not having to be perfect. It's just being a little bit better than that.
Yeah, okay. With learning, you've picked up a few bits and pieces of mental strategies, if you will, from each of those people and a lot of balance here in there. You mentioned earlier about the importance of the mental side of the game. How much time do you dedicate to the mental side or golf psychology? I know you've listened to Golfer's Mind from Bob Rotella quite a few times by the sounds of it, and you have your affirmations there. Are there other things that you do, or are you constantly trying to pick up new things and learning how to improve your mental game?
Lately I haven't been too, I haven't been branching out to see what else I can find. And I think part of it's because I've been having success for an extended period of time with the things that I have been doing.
Okay.
Trying to think, what was the second part of your question there?
Well, just, learning more about golf psychology and, improving on the mental side of the game with it being,
how much I dedicate myself to.
Yeah.
I would definitely say probably at least, you're always kind of working on it, but I know in the evening time, no matter what I'm doing, I'd say at least 4 or 5 nights a week, I take a good 15 or 20 minutes to, just look over the things that I've always done, my process goals list of things I do. But it also happens out on the course. I know today was a very hot day. I'm living in Phoenix right now, and it was very hot, so you get very frustrated, and I caught myself, getting a little frustrated and mad at some of the shots, even though they weren't that bad. And you kind of just, even out there, you can kind of catch yourself and say, hey, that's not going to help you become a better player. Just, relax. It's not that bad. And you kind of move on to the next shot. I think, like we said, it's hard to practice your mental game in a practice round when there's nothing on the line. It's pretty easy to do and see what you're doing in a tournament. But in a practice round when, you're just trying to get better and nothing really matters, it tends to be a little tougher.
Yeah. On the topic of practice, when you're practicing at an event, or do you practice at an event, and how does that fit in with your mental, your frame of mind? I'm guessing, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you don't spend a lot of time on mechanics on the practice range during a tournament round, but what do you work on, or do you think about mechanics sometimes during a tournament?
I maybe don't think it's so much about mechanics. I do think about, if I show up on Monday and I'm going through my practice rounds on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I say maybe feel something that kind of works, or, a feeling that makes sense to me that week. Like the week where I won, I've never thought about it ever before, but I felt like if I felt my left leg stay a little bit straighter in my practice rounds, I was getting through the ball a little better. Do I have any facts to prove that? No, I had no camera on me, but I know that when it felt like I kept my leg a little bit more solid, I hit it better. So I know when I was going through my rounds, specifically even the playoff holes, I get to the tee and I watch Vince hit, and then I get up there, and kind of my last thing, I'm not really saying trust your target or not, but I would say, keep your left leg solid, and then I turn around it. And so I don't know if it's so much about mechanics, but you can find little things in the course of the week that maybe will help or click that week. Yeah,
definitely. No, I think I know what you mean there. Just a couple questions left here. I'm wondering, what are Chris Killmer's expectations of himself? What do you expect for yourself in your future, near term, and your career? What do you see yourself doing?
I see myself playing on the PGA Tour. I see myself on TV playing for the Open Championship. I see sponsors on my shirt and logos on my bag, and I fully expect to get there. I think it's too much to put a date and time of saying this is what I'm going to have it done by. It's all a process, but that's where I see myself. That's where I expect myself. I think professionally-wise, if I fail to get to the PGA Tour, I think I will have failed. Obviously, at my end goal, I will not be able to check it off, but I don't feel like I will have failed in this whole experience and process. It's been a lot of fun. It's taken me some places I never thought I'd go. But yeah, my expectations are to be on the PGA Tour and be successful.
I think that's a really important mindset to have, and I'm really glad to hear it. I think it's really hard to get to a place if you really don't think that you're capable of getting there. And, a lot of people just sort of take it for granted and write it down on a piece of paper and don't look back at it, sort of thing. But if you really believe that you're in your goals and that you're going to accomplish that, I think you need to have that mindset of expectation of getting there. So good for you. And
absolutely.
The last thing I have on my list that we haven't touched on yet is really just course management. I'm wondering how important a role that plays in your success and in your mindset on the course. And do you plan your way around the course before you play? And does that impact your frame of mind when you are playing?
Yeah, I definitely plan out. In the practice rounds. It won't change a whole lot depending on, like par 4s and par 5s. They won't change a whole lot about, what club you'll hit off the tee. But, yeah, course management's huge. I mean, without it, you're kind of lost out there. If you're just the mindset of grip it and rip it, hey, I'll play you any day for whatever you want, because that's just not how it works. But that being said, if you get to a par 5 that's wide open and your mindset's grip it and rip it, go for it. I have that mindset too. But being able to plot yourself around the golf course and put yourself into positions that will give you the best chance at birdie, or on a tough hole, maybe, hey, this is going to give me the best chance at par every day this week. You definitely increase your chances of playing well that whole week. I feel like I come up with good game plans every week, but man, even before I won, I had great game plans, and and Fort McMurray, but those didn't even come close. So I think it's something too where staying in the moment helps you out. I don't think that you can really think of any hole as, say, being a birdie hole or a par hole, because that's already planning on hitting the next 2 or 3 shots. You really kind of have to stay right in the shot that you're hitting at that moment. But you hit that shot with as much knowledge about the hole as you possibly can. And, you know, our experience in playing golf over the years of doing this, you end up making good decisions, but there's always time to venture away from your game plan. You know, I made more of a conservative approach to the final holes in Winnipeg. They were tough holes. And I said, hey, if Vince can come out here and birdie these, you know, go for it, but I'm not going to lose a hole to him with a bogey. And I didn't. I parred the last holes, and sure enough, the great player that he is, he birdied some holes coming in. So, thinking back, I maybe would have put maybe a little more of maybe I sat back a little too early. I didn't say, hey, I have this in the bag. I had 6 holes to play, 6 tough holes. But I am very proud of myself that I forced him to make birdies. And you know what? He did. You can't guard against that. I couldn't go play defense against him, and I think that's a cool part about golf.
Yeah, no question about it. That's great. Well, Chris, I really want to thank you for the opportunity to chat today and talk about the mental side of your success. And as I always do with the players, I want to give you the chance to give a final word of, you know, a piece of advice or a shout out if you'd like to do so.
I think my advice for anybody is have fun. If you're not having fun out there, there's no point to be out there. And I think you can ask anybody who's ever met me. I have more fun on the golf course than most people. So stay relaxed, have fun, and enjoy the day.
Great advice. I think everyone could use a little bit of that fun attitude, and it can never stray you wrong on the golf course when the chips are down, and to just help you get a little bit more relaxed. So thanks again, Chris. I really like your mindset, your expectations, and those affirmations that you gave as well. I think that's great stuff. So really appreciate it, and best of luck the rest of the year.
Well, thanks so much. I've enjoyed talking with you.
All right. See you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Bye.